Hello, today we're going over Chernobyl nuclear accident lecture. So the Chernobyl meltdown was the largest nuclear reactive meltdown that we've had so far in history. And it was caused through a series of poor design and human error. So let's get into it. The Chernobyl disaster occurred on April 26, 1986, at the Chernobyl power plant in the Soviet Union in what is now Ukraine. So remember, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union at that time. It's independent now, as of 2025. During a late night safety test on Reactor 4, operators disabled critical safety systems to simulate a power outage. So they were actually trying to test some stuff. They were testing some systems, and they were testing systems that would help prevent a problem if power went out to the local grid, and they had backup generators that would kick in, but it took a minute for those generators to kick in. So they had an idea of how they could get enough power for that 1 minute while they were waiting for the backup generators. And there's many things that went wrong with it. You can go into find the details on YouTube videos and such. But what ended up happening was they got a surge in power, which caused an explosion in the reactor. A combination of human error and a flawed reactor design caused an uncontrollable surge in power. And this is the picture from the air. You can see that the building here has been blown up. It's blown outwards as Reactor 4 blew up. The reactor exploded, blasting the 1,000-ton roof off the building and releasing radioactive material into the air. So this is the big problem, right? You get this explosion, and in among that explosion is radioactive debris that goes in all directions. And some of it's small enough that it even gets caught up on the wind or in the air and can be transported to other places. Plus, the material that's here is radioactive, and it's just continually pumping out radiation to the local area. 2 workers died instantly, and fires raged throughout the facility. Emergency crews rushed to the scene with little understanding of the radiation they were facing. So there wasn't a lot of good communication, but something had to be done, right? This was definitely an active disaster. Now, the Chernobyl power plant is near a moderately sized city. In the immediate aftermath, Soviet officials moved quickly to suppress information about the accident. Despite the explosion, they waited nearly 2 days before evacuating the nearby city of Pripyat, home of around 50,000 people. So for 2 days, these people were exposed to radioactive material that was blown into the atmosphere, settled around in the countryside, on buildings, on the city, all that kind of stuff. Which would later cause higher rates of cancers in the area. People that were there at the time, many of them would die prematurely of cancer-related illnesses. Not all, but there was a statistical increase because they didn't evacuate them right away. Citizens experienced strange symptoms like metallic taste, nausea, and burns, but were not told of the danger. And here they're testing, these are Geiger counters, and they're testing for radioactive material. So like particles that have fallen onto clothing. Authorities issued vague statements, and only after Swedish radiation detectors picked up abnormal readings did the Soviet Union acknowledge the event. Even then, the government minimized the severity, keeping much of the truth hidden from both the public and the international community. This secrecy delayed medical responses and allowed many more to be exposed unnecessarily. So they should have been protecting their citizens and evacuating them, getting them all the proper medical attention that they could. And then you had people that had to go in and try and cover up or clean up this site. Many of those people were exposed to lethal levels of radiation, many dying within weeks, months, and then years. So you've got a cleanup crew here. To contain the disaster, the Soviet Union deployed hundreds of thousands of workers, soldiers, and volunteers, later known as liquidators. These individuals were tasked with clearing radioactive debris, extinguishing fires, and building a concrete sarcophagus to seal off Reactor 4. Many worked with inadequate protection using simple lead aprons or rubber suits and were exposed to intense radiation for brief shifts. So their gear was not sufficient. They didn't have enough of the gear for everybody. They would try and hide behind like concrete walls and only expose themselves for short periods of work and then come back to safety. But still, it wasn't really that safe. What you got here is a picture. This is below the reactor. So the reactor was up here. You had a meltdown, which caused all of the nuclear material to liquefy, basically, like turn into a magma, you could think about. And then it all burned through and dripped down into this kind of basement, if you will, below the reactor. This is the big slag of radioactive material. Some had to climb directly onto the reactor roof to shovel debris back into the core, a job so dangerous it was limited to just 90 seconds per person. Remote-controlled robots were attempted first, but they quickly failed in the high radiation environment. The liquidators bravely helped prevent further catastrophe, but many suffered serious health consequences due to the extreme conditions. So it's definitely a case study in how to better prepare for simulations at the reactors, how to properly deal with a public that's been exposed to radiation, none of which was done adequately by the Soviet Union. So if you have any further questions, let me know. Thank you very much.